Today's incident will wake up your soul. Please watch the incident till the end. While burying his wife, the husband put a camera in the grave and said, "She was a bad character. Whoever wants to see the torture of the grave should come here." Just like that, a lot of people sat down to see the torture of the grave. Then just like that, the Maghrib Azan was called. A big disaster had just happened in our house, which had not been over for long. My mother gathered the whole neighborhood. Everyone was sitting with their eyes fixed on the LCD screen, and today, something was going to be shown on this screen, which was going to have a big impact on me and my mother's life. But people had probably come to refresh their faith. It was the job of my cameras, and I also knew from where to get the view of the camera. Today, the place where the camera was placed was nothing but a grave, and we all were going to see the inside view of that grave, in which the dead body had been buried just half an hour ago. A boy was also standing there, who was my disciple. His job was to see this. We saw that the camera was at its place, and we could see that scene. All the people of the locality had gathered. Everyone was saying that we didn't know what we would get to see today. Sumaira did not look like that kind of a girl, but her mother-in-law said something that we all have come to see with our own eyes. What is going to happen in the grave? As the scene of the camera started appearing on that TV, people started touching their ears, and I ran towards my wife's grave like a mad person. When I went there and saw, I came to know that I had married Smara of my choice from inside my wife's grave. She was very beautiful but very healthy, because she used to do all the household work by running around, but my mother still did not like her. She was not pleasing my mother because she had chosen some other girl for me, and it had been 3 years since my engagement with her. In such a situation, after 3 years when I got married to the girl of my choice without informing anyone, and after that I told my mother that I'd got married. So my mother got very angry. The matter was also like this, but I did not want to marry the girl with whom she had got me engaged. I came to know that she was having an affair with 2 or 3 boys, and my wife, who has become my lifelong partner, was a very noble and good woman. She was also very good at Quran Hifsa. I did nikah without telling my mother. That's why if I had told my mother, she would have raised a hue and cry. She did the same now, but less than that. We both were married, so it did not matter much to us. I tried very hard to keep my wife happy, but she wanted to make my mother happy. She used to say that one day she would have to be happy with me. She used to do all the household chores, but my mother was not happy. I left the girl with whom she had got me engaged by putting a stamp of Bab Qadari on her, and there was no lie in it because she was of bad character, and maybe this thing had got into the mind of my parents. My mother had a... One day she called me and said that there is a stranger in your wife's room, and he has locked the door from inside, and you are sitting there in the office and you call after the time, "Come quickly, see there is a stranger in your wife's room." I was also shocked to hear this. I should have trusted my wife, and I should not have come running like this after hearing my mother's words. But the matter was such that there was a stranger in my wife's room. How could I tolerate this? As soon as I came home, I went straight to the room. The door was not locked from the inside, however. The door was locked. I opened the door and was left holding my head after seeing the scene in front. My wife said, "What has happened to you? Why do you look so worried?" I said nothing. I had left my camera at home. That's why I came home in a hurry and gave me that camera. She quickly took out the camera and gave it to me. And I also saluted that man. I said, "Go after eating food." I came out with the camera, and then I asked my mother, "Who told you that this stranger was there?" "He is a man. He is my wife's brother and lives in a foreign country, and he came just last week. He could not attend his sister's wedding, so I want to congratulate him. He has come for you. He called me last night, so today I was about to finish my office work early and come home. You made me feel embarrassed in front of him. What would he be thinking? Why did I run to him like a mad person?" My mother said, "How would I know that he is her brother?" He came straight to her room, patted her forehead, and went inside. He didn't even tell me that he was my brother. He didn't even introduce me to him. I said if he did this, he did wrong, but that doesn't mean that you can blame him and make me feel embarrassed in front of him. When it was night, I asked Sumaira, "Why didn't you introduce your brother?" She said the brother introduced himself because when he came home, his mother was sitting in front. I was working in the room. He told me that I am Sumaira's brother, and I have come from a foreign country. I want to meet him, and where is he? Then in such a situation, what introduction did I have to introduce? It means that my mother lied and created trouble in the house, but I did not get my mother to face trial because I knew that she did this. She wanted to prove Sumaira to be a bad character in any way. One day she talked to someone in the same way. When she was talking on the phone, she said to me, "I don't know with whom your wife has talked on the phone for 2 hours today." She told me so many things that I questioned her. She said, not 2 hours, she talked only for 1 hour, and that too with a friend of mine who got married and went to another country. Now she is getting divorced. She was very upset. That is why I was talking to her and consoling her and trying to explain that when women talk about such a big issue after so many years, then talking for an hour is not something ordinary. These were small things that were happening in our house. Sumaira gave the good news that she was going to be a mother. When I took her to the doctor said that everything was very good. Everything is absolutely fine. I hope her 9 months will go very well. Since Sumaira was a working girl, she did not have any problems right now. I was very happy, but this news did not make anyone happy except me. My mother still could not find a little space for Sumaira in her heart. She was worried. I consoled her that when the child comes, Amma will be fine with you too. But I knew that my mother was a stubborn woman. She had insulted my father in the same way all his life. I used to feel very sorry after listening to my mother's nonsense, but I could not say anything to my mother in front of Sumaira. My mother is like that. I told Sumaira that everything would be fine. You should not worry. My mother used to quarrel, and she used to tell things to my wife. If my wife would even say this much that Amma did not happen, she would start crying and say that he did it. Whenever I came home, I would hear some tension-related thing. I never saw that everything is normal now. My wife was about to have a child. Her condition was not such that she would take so much tension, but she could not leave this house, because my mother had put all the household work on her, and now this house could not run without her. One day, I was in the office when I don't know what kind of fight took place in the house. What happened that my mother took such an extreme step? I'm telling you all right now that all this had happened, but at that time, I did not know what my mother had done. My 5-month-old Hala wife had left this world. My mother had pushed her and her head hit the wall. When I came home, 2 women from the neighborhood were already present in the house, and I already came to know that all this had happened. It was as if doomsday had fallen on me. My wife, who was about to become a mother, had left this world. They said that this woman used to commit adultery, so your mother caught her and slapped her lightly, but her head hit the wall and she left this world. My condition became a little strange. It happened as if doomsday had come upon me. People wait for the doomsday and say that the doomsday will come. When such a big problem happens to someone, then is it not doomsday for him? Then what other doomsday will he be afraid of? My children who were supposed to come to this world had also left this world, and my wife too, whom I had married with love. I started fighting with my mother and said that this could not happen. My wife was not of bad character. You should not have done this. Why did you push her? My mother said, "Did you want to kill your wife?" It was an accident, and we saw with our own eyes that those women were also involved with my mother, but those women were my mother's friends. I said I didn't believe that my wife was of bad character. Mother said that in Islam, if someone kills someone or tells a lie or steals, even he is not given such a heavy punishment. The biggest punishment is given for adultery. Your wife has committed adultery, so the account of your wife will start from tonight itself. If you don't believe me, then put a camera in her grave and see how she is punished. People also gathered. Some relatives also came, and this matter was also brought in front of them. My mother had clearly said that she left this world because of my pushing her, but she deserved this, because she was a bad character. If my mother had said that I had deliberately sent your wife away from this world, then even then I would not have been able to take revenge from my mother. I could not have said such a thing. I could not have abused her. I could have only regretted it. But now if this was the case, then she had to prove it. Mother said, "Then put a camera and we will all see what kind of punishment she is punished for." I said, "What is happening?" My head was spinning, but my mother said, "No, we will do this so that tomorrow there will be no problem in your heart, because you are my son and you and I have to live in the same house." I had the work of cameras. I had big modern cameras. From small button-like cameras to big cameras, I had all kinds of equipment. The camera I was going to install inside this grave had such a range that we could see the scene while sitting in our house. I also had a disciple. My mother told him that this is your job. You go and install the camera in the grave, and the body should be buried as soon as possible. My wife's parents were also informed, but by the time they came, the body had already been taken to the graveyard. It was buried as soon as possible, and well, the camera was also installed. As the news spread among all the women of the neighborhood, many people came home and looked at the LD. Now I started feeling that whatever has happened is true, and my world has been plundered. Tears were coming in my eyes. People were saying, "Be a man," I said. "Doesn't a man feel pain in his heart?" And she was my wife. My mother said, "When you will come to know that she was really a bad character, then tears will come out of your eyes. You just wait and watch what happens now." Nothing was coming to my mind at this time. The wife whom I had left behind a happy and alive life, when I came back, she was not in this world. She was telling me 2 days back, "Amma fights with me the whole day, my health gets bad, drop me at my Amma's house for a few days." So I told her, "Yes, I will drop you for a week, and don't worry, I will cook food for Amma myself, or I will bring it from outside, but you will get some rest." When she used to say that how much you love me, I did not have words to tell her how much I loved my wife. Amma had to stay with us all her life. Now what should I say? She is mine. She is my mother. But what can I say? We have to live with her. She used to say, "I don't have any issues. She is your mother. I can tolerate her thinking that she is your heaven." And when I heard this, I hugged my wife and said that you are really very good and I'm very unlucky. But what happened to me today? I became unlucky when I left my wife, and I was told that my wife, whom I trusted more than myself, turned out to be a womanizer. And not only this, my mother sent her away from this world too. She hated me so much. If she had committed any crime, she could have waited for me to come. I would have done justice to her, I would have told her what to do, and I would have left her if she was bad. But her life was taken away. Her parents were also sitting like me. They were poor people. They could not do anything. They did not have 2 meals a day in their house. Their son had gone out. How could they fight with us? But those eyes of hers which were looking at me, it was enough to kill me. I had married their daughter, saying that I would always take care of her, but I did not. I found that I could not save her, even from my mother. How could I save her from the world? The disciple of mine who was made to stand there was a very good person, just like my brothers. There were tears in his eyes too. The mouth of the grave was closed. Only a little space was left open from where the camera could be taken out by putting a hand in it, because that camera was very expensive, and people used to take that camera on rent also. After some time, some strange sounds started coming from inside the grave, and my mother started saying, look, the torture has started on this bad character woman. Hey, she..." So my house was turned into a brothel. Sometimes someone would come, and sometimes someone would go. She would lock the door after letting the men in. I don't know what she was saying, and there was no point in me answering her because my world had been destroyed. But suddenly people started shouting and screaming, and when I saw the scene in front of me, the ground slipped from under my feet. They started saying that the dead body was being thrown out of the grave. I ran from there like a mad person towards the graveyard. The graveyard was not very far from here. Just think that it was at a distance of 2 streets. That's why we could see the reflection of the camera, because the range of that camera was more than 50 meters. I was running very fast. My own feet were faltering and my feet were not supporting me. I felt as if my legs had become numb. I fell twice on the way, but when I reached there, I was shocked to see the scene in front of me. My disciple ran towards me and said that Bobby was his. Only these words came out of my mouth, and 2 people looked at me with strange eyes and said, "What kind of a person are you? What have you done? This woman is alive." We immediately rushed Sumera to the hospital, and the hospital people were also shocked. They immediately admitted her to the ICU because the oxygen in her lungs was about to finish. My wife had not left this world, but she had gone into a deep unconsciousness due to the shock caused by hitting her head on the wall. And my mother knew about this, but she, along with her friends, took my wife to the graveyard. We saw the same scene in the camera. Suddenly someone started digging the grave, and he was none other than my disciple. There were two people because sounds came from inside, maybe a little bit from the hole that was kept to take out the camera. Oxygen had gone inside, due to which my wife was still alive. If this was not God's blessing, then what was it? I did not know. I knew that my deeds had been done, but perhaps not as much as I deserved because I was also at fault. I came to know that my mother is like this and hates my wife. I should not have kept my wife with my mother. For 4 days, my wife was fighting between life and death, and the doctors were also not giving any good news. All the money I had was spent. I had become destitute. I had taken loans from people, but people were also helping me because the story had spread in the whole neighborhood. There was a very rich man living in our neighborhood. I heard that his young daughter and wife had left this world. He had a lot of money, but there was no one to spend it. He said, "I will help you. I will give you money. When you have it, return it to me. And if you don't have it, then, of course, don't return it." My child had left this world. That innocent child left this world in his mother's homeland because in this situation it was not possible that his life could have been saved. I have suffered a great loss. I was praying to Allah that my wife should somehow survive, and this deed should happen to me. All the family members were abusing my mother. All the people in the neighborhood were abusing her. She was still saying that whatever I have done, I have no fault in it, and this was the only thing on her tongue. After 12 days, my wife was removed from the ventilator, but she was still in the ICU. And then after a month and a half, she was shifted from the ICU to a room. I was told that she was not capable of speaking, and she would have to be given oxygen through the lungs. Even now, her condition is very bad. She was looking at me with strange eyes, and tears were repeatedly coming out of her eyes. She asked me with gestures, "Our child." I told her that he had gone to Allah. The poor Majid started crying, but the doctors said that it is not good for her to cry like this. The doctors also told me that now she will never be able to become a mother, she will never be able to do any heavy work, she will not be able to climb many stairs, and she will not be able to walk on her own feet. She will be able to walk only inside the house, and for the rest of her life she will have to use a pump and oxygen cylinder to breathe if there is some new technology or something else. If the matter is resolved, then maybe in the coming years their life can become a little easier, but right now their life has become very difficult. I brought my wife home. A lot of machinery came with her, and she was going to live with the machines only. I had lost 35 lakhs. My shop was sold. All my cameras, all my goods, everything was sold. There was a mess in my house. There were cobwebs. Some relatives were good who supported me and promised to take care of my wife. We were with you for a few days, but after this, I had to take care of her. My mother started saying that she should be taken care of because of this. Leave her at her parents' house. How will we take care of her now? It will cost a lot of money. She will have to be taken care of like this all her life. What use is she to you now? She won't even have children. I told my mother to pack her things. We are going somewhere. I left my wife in the care of a nurse and her parents for a while, and took my mother to my maternal uncle's house. He lived in a joint family. I said, "She is your sister. Keep her with you and have mercy on me." My mother was shocked, and they were also shocked. They didn't know about this. Because they lived in another city, I told them everything, and left my mother there and came back. I said, "You take care of her because my wife's condition is such that I can only take care of her at one time." My mother saw me leaving, and I saw embarrassment in her eyes, but it was too late. Now Samira's life was also getting better, but she was not the same as before. I apologized to her, and she said, "What is your fault in this?" She did not talk much. The doctor used to say that such a patient does not have a long life, and I was happy that she did not leave me. But whenever I see her, tears come to my eyes. Please pray for my Sumaira that some pardon should happen like Allah Pak showed miracle and saved her life. Similarly, her health should also come back. When I think about this, I get very upset that she was so healthy, how she used to run around doing household chores and was going to give me a healthy child. And now, so much happened to her just because my mother hated her. It was just that fight between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law which caused such a big loss. I will never be able to forgive my mother, but now I will spend my whole life with my wife. I will stay with her. She tells me to get married again. I cannot even think of this because all this has happened because of me. I will spend my whole life with her, and if Allah does not let her marry me before this, even if she is gone from this world, I will not marry again. And a woman's love has great power, but a man's love is no less than anyone else's. If you liked our story, please like this video before leaving, and to get more such videos, subscribe to our channel and become a part of our family. Thank you.